It's Reality Check with Craig Price.
I'm an idiot.
4 minutes in and I'm already wrong.
I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me.
You're like A Beautiful Mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So
This isn't Self-Esteem Weekly. This is a reality check.
Craig, shut up.
It's Reality Check with Craig Price. This week, Terry Brock is here to explain cryptocurrency. Welcome to the podcast. Before we start, just a quick reminder that the 2018 calendar for charity is available at realitycheckpodcast.com/calendar. It's just $14.99 plus shipping and handling, and all the profits go to Orangutan Rescue. So get yours today, and if you get one, let me know. Email me at craig@speakercraigprice.com with a picture of you holding the calendar, or just post it on Facebook, whatever, so people know that other people are buying it, and I'd like to see who is actually out there getting them. I hope you enjoy it. And if you do buy one, you'll notice that today's topic is not how you can pay. At least not that I know of. Because I keep hearing about Bitcoin and all these types of digital currencies out there, and it's been fluctuating wildly lately. In fact, as you'll hear when we recorded this particular episode, a single Bitcoin hit 11,000, and then the very next day it lost 20% of its value in about 90 minutes. But since then it has returned to to about the 11,000 range, and it seems to be rising. It also seems to be a very wild and unexplainable use of one's money, so I figured I'd get my pal Terry Brock to come explain it to me. Now, Terry's been on the show several times, and lately cryptocurrency is all he's been talking about. So I thought, let's get someone who's a great speaker, very knowledgeable, and is neck deep in this to help explain it to me. Is it a thing? Or is it a thing that leads to a thing that will change the way we use money in the future? We'll see. So get your mayonnaise jar out of the backyard, take your money out from under your mattress, and let's talk cryptocurrency with Terry Brock. When I hear the word cryptocurrency, I get nervous because the only other word that I know with crypto in it is cryptozoology, and that is Bigfoot, Chupacabra, that is things that don't exist. So when we talk about money and things that don't exist, I get nervous. But the crypto is different in cryptocurrency. Explain what it is and why it's in the news so much.
Well, cryptocurrency really means it's something that is using, here's a concept, cryptography, meaning that it's secret. So that way it's very private. And we all want privacy in our lives in certain areas. It's very important. And the currency that's available gives you the ability to have transactions, and it can be pseudo-anonymous. I say pseudo-anonymous because with something like Bitcoin, which is the most popular cryptocurrency, it's not completely anonymous. They know that there's a trail that can be followed, but they know it's numbers. And if you and I, for instance, Craig, I say, okay, I'm going to sell you this pen. And you go, wow, that is the niftiest, grooviest pen I've ever seen in my life, Terry. How much do you want for it? I say, I want $100. And you go, oh, that'd be a bargain. So you could send that to me in some form of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or whatever, but it would just be your numbers. I would see your numbers. My smartphone or computer would see it and grab that. And we would be able to then say, okay, I just transferred that from your account to mine like that. And we would have the ability to make it happen.
So what's the difference between that and like PayPal?
PayPal gives you the ability to do that, but well, you do need a credit card, of course, which is going to take a nice 3 to 5% from there. And sometimes that can be turned down. Sometimes PayPal notoriously has said, no, you have too many sales, entrepreneur. This has happened a lot. And we're going to close it down until we make sure that everything is just right. With Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency, no one on the planet can stop you from making that transaction from you to another person. And depending on which cryptocurrency you use, it can happen almost instantaneously. And the fee can be very, very low, or it can be a moderate fee. It depends.
Because that makes it kind of scary when there's no safety net. I mean, I like the FDIC because I don't have more than $100,000. So I know that if someone takes all my money out of the bank, I'm covered. But it sounds like with Bitcoin, if some Nigerian scammer I somehow get involved with, my money's gone.
Well, you would be able to control who gets it because you would have to swipe and say, yes, I'm going to give this to them. Now, you are wise to be cautious because once it's given to you, once you send me that $100 for this fancy schmancy pin that I'm going to sell you, that it is up to me to make sure you get that. So you would want to have a system in place that makes sure you do get the PIN after you've given me that money.
Well, my guest today is Terry Brock. He's been on the show before. Your son's the lovely Gina Carr today. He is MC extraordinaire, does a lot of cryptocurrency events. That's why I wanted to bring you on, because not only is you're someone I like and trust, but you're really neck deep in cryptocurrency lately. And I think it makes you an expert by association, because I think you've been doing so much research and been involved in so many situations and so many events that just by osmosis, even if you weren't actually using Bitcoin, which you are, you know quite a bit.
Yeah, but I find that the thing is, it's changing every day. Craig, you and I know each other. I've been in the technology space for many, many years, and I'm seeing what's happening now is even faster. It's like every day there's information. I mean, just this morning, Gina left to go for a client in New York. She showed me today's paper. We looked at it, and there was a story there about Bitcoin. I go, oh, yeah, that's old news. And it was like the paper, how old? Because it's really dated like 24 hours old. It's changing so rapidly. You try to keep up with it, but it's also fun. And I see what's happening with cryptocurrencies, with blockchain, is literally changing the entire world. And it's going to be as profound as the internet was for what happened to the post office and what email did to the post office. We're seeing cryptocurrencies starting to do that to financial institutions, banks, etc. And it will be much more secure, and you will be much safer.
Well, that's why I want to talk about the security of this, because this is digital. It's pure digital. What's the ability to hack something like this?
Well, that's an extraordinarily important question, because we don't want our accounts hacked. And we look at what's happening right now. Look at what's going on right now. Do you realize, well, I'm sure you do, the story in the news just a few weeks ago, 43 million people had their privacy invaded, hacked at Equifax. Here's Equifax getting all this information from you, whether you want to or not. And by the way, we're not just talking about, we know Craig Price. We know your social security number. We also know your mother's maiden name now, that first car you drove, your favorite pet, those kind of security questions. Gotcha. We know who it is. Why? Here's the difference. Because we're using blockchain. That's what it's all based on. And what is blockchain?
Yeah.
Think of it like a database, but it's a database that's not in one place. That's what Equifax was and is. One place, they've got it all there. And let's say you had $10 million you wanted to really protect. You could put it in one place and you'd put up security and guards and all kinds of things around it. But bad guys would see that and go, I would be willing to spend up to 10 million in order to get that money. Would they spend $1 million to get your 10 million? Probably. 2 million? Yeah, it's a matter of what they would do. Whereas with blockchain, what it is, it's a matter of agreements. You formulate a set of agreements. I will give you this PIN and you will give me so much money. And it will only happen when these conditions are met. We make sure that all of that is safe. And it's done not by trusting a person, but by mathematics. We're trusting math, not a person and their goodwill. Look at Equifax. They had security there. Obviously, it wasn't good enough. Versus, let's take that $10 million example. I know that's a whole lot less than what you would have, but just assume you only have 10 million.
I only have 10. So a weekend, walking around money.
A weekend, that's right. Walking around, pocket that in one location, easy for the bad guys to get. But instead, let's flip it over. Blockchain would say, no, we're going to take 10 million locations and put $1 in each one. Oh, and by the way, we're going to change the location every 10 minutes. That's what happens with Bitcoin. And so as far as hacking, no one has been able to hack. And there have been thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of attempts to hack into Bitcoin. It has never been hacked. Now, it has lost money because of incompetent people that kept in one place, in one central location, like Mt. Gox, MT Gox over in Japan. We saw it happen in other places, all because of incompetence on the part of people. And the ways to work around that are you keep track of your own money. You do need to be responsible, put on your big boy pants, your big girl pants, and you keep track of your codes. And if you keep track of those codes and don't do something silly, then you're able to have it preserved and you're secure, much more secure than what's there at Equifax.
Well, I have to rely on what people like from Apple who kept on saying, well, you never see viruses on Apple. You never see problems with Apple. Well, they're having problems lately. They're having password problems. They're having all kinds of issues. So there could be issues of security down the road. It's not like it could never be hacked. Something could happen.
Exactly. You raise a good point, because never say never.
Right.
You know, who knows what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We're talking about quantum computing. They might be able to go in there and outrun the computers and the fastest we have today. But we know that for today, it's been around since '09. And it has been rock solid secure. And people that are really, really smart in security, that's not my field, but I look at those and respect them greatly that are in security. They keep coming back going, this blockchain, whoa, this is much more secure because of the distributed ledger that it is. We often call it DLT, distributed ledger technology. And the distributed ledger technology gives you the ability to put it not in one place, but several places around the planet. And all of those nodes, those different computers, the nodes have to agree before anything changes. And so they're using fast computing power and algorithms. Again, we're trusting in mathematics rather than hoping that somebody at the bank will be really nice, or you mentioned the FDIC, that the government will take care of it. Keep in mind, it was the government of Cyprus that suddenly came in and took about 30% of everything they had just because they needed the money. They told you your account was safe, and then they took it. Oh, by the way, Venezuela, same kind of thing. Oh, yes, in Argentina. Oh, yes, in Poland. Oh, yes, and the United States government in the 1930s came and said, we are confiscating your gold. We are sending people out with guns, and they will take gold, any gold that you have had, maybe in your home for years and years and centuries, and we're going to take that from you. So I think I'm going to trust mathematics more than any human being.
So Bitcoin, a coin right now is worth how much? A single Bitcoin.
It's changing all the time. Today, it actually hit a high of $11,300, and then it came down. Yesterday's new high was $10,000. Give you an idea of the volatility in it.
So, and at the beginning of the year, it was about around 1,000.
Yes, that's correct. From 1,000 to 10,000 yesterday, huge increase.
So what is the reason for this increase? Because, you know, a lot of currency has been built on something. Like the gold standard has been one thing. So basically what you're using is your dollar bills were proxy for gold coins or gold. What is the proxy? I mean, how does it increase in value? Just because I don't see where the value is besides the fact that it exists.
Yeah, that's a good point. You got to see some value. Otherwise, why is it? Let me ask you this. Why is Microsoft stock at the price it is today versus when it was first released? It is obviously a little bit higher. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's higher. It's because people value it. There's a consensus, key term, consensus of people that say, we think this is more valuable. I mean, think about it. You mentioned gold, which has been a reserve for centuries, thousands of years, literally. Why do people value gold? I mean, it's just a piece of metal that's shiny and, it might be kind of nice. Why not that versus silver or platinum or copper or whatever? It's like people have put their faith in it, and they've said by consensus, we value gold more than we value copper. And so we want to use that. Yeah, we can use gold for some other purposes of electronics and dentistry at one time and all of that. But we also realize there's got to be a value. Well, so Bitcoin, what gives it its value? Consensus. People say, hey, I like that. Much like they say, I like that Microsoft stock. Instead of it being, I'll pick a number at random here, $1, I'm going to bid you $1.50. I'll take, because it's where I'll bid $2 for it. Now the price of that stock has become $2 versus $1 because of consensus.
Well, I guess the reason I brought it up is because I'm concerned about inflation. How does that work in a cryptocurrency situation with inflation? Because it's like almost like Zimbabwe or like one of those where you had to bring a wheelbarrow full of cash to get a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a Bitcoin's worth 11,000, but that it could easily be worth, since it's not really built on anything besides what people want, it could all go away tomorrow. Which
exactly.
But with regular currency, at least there's a lot less volatility.
Well, it depends on that currency, and it depends on what's happening elsewhere. With the currencies right now, you mentioned Zimbabwe. They literally have tanks in the streets right now over there as we're doing this recording. And the price of Bitcoin is like $20,000, $30,000 or something. I forget the exact numbers of what it is. But it's there because it gives them value. It's something they can trust versus they know they can take their Bitcoin and go to another country and get goods and services. They can buy something, earn it there in Zimbabwe, go elsewhere. And if it's all in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, they can get exchange for that. So it is very, very volatile, up and down. And a new currency, any new technology, there's going to be a lot of volatility on that.
And that's probably why it's important to be early adopters, is because
it's good to be an early adopter. Although right now, if you decide, hey, I don't have any Bitcoin today, I'm going to get into it. Welcome aboard. Now would be a good time. I would look at it as more like if you and I got opportunities to really do some good business over in Japan, and we went there and we were going to be in Japan for a month, we would probably go to a bank or some place where we could get some yen. Some Japanese yen, we'd carry it with us just because we're in that environment, we're going to use it. Some people think of it as an investment that they're going to buy and hold it. They're going to hodl, HODL, hold on for dear life and just never let go. Others are using it for transactions and actually literally buying and selling now with Bitcoin. And matter of fact, just this morning, I transferred some money from one of the accounts that I had over to my bank. So it will go into my Bank of America account after a little bit of fee that they will charge at the banks to send it in there. But it's very minuscule, much less than when I, for instance, do work overseas and clients pay me in fiat currency, either from their currency. Like I did some work in Australia, and they sent me Australian dollars through all the sifters and all the people taking money all the way through. And I finally get it a week later in my bank account, a whole lot less than what I thought.
Well, there's another thing that I've heard about, because I've heard about different types of currency. So Bitcoin's the number one, but I recently was listening to a podcast, and I think it was Judge John Hodgman, which is a comedy podcast, but this gentleman had set up an Ethereum, if that's the correct term, Ethereum mining server in his house.
Yes.
So explain mining in this how this mining works.
Yeah, mining is kind of an interesting term because it's something that it's like what's happening really is that people are creating and developing the actual coins. They're not going out miners, but that was a nice term that they thought because it reminds people of mining for gold. When you go out, you dig in the ground and, oh, here's a piece, and you take it back, get it refined, and now you've dug that up, you mined it, you created it. What it is, those are computers. Very fast computers around the world that are performing very difficult mathematical calculations. And the calculations are set by the algorithms that control Bitcoin. And they are coming up with a Bitcoin that you would then earn if you're the first to solve this equation, then you get so many Bitcoin for you. And it can be quite profitable from when that works and you are able to figure out the equation and get the results.
But this equation, is it useful, or is it just, it sounds like a very elaborate yet boring game?
It kind of is. That's why we let computers do it.
Right.
And we let computers that are really fast do it. And it creates that network around the world for people who can then go out, compete with each other, and compete on the basis of how fast they do it and the energy that it takes. The amount of electricity that it takes is really important. And so the idea is you're putting some skin into the game. John McAfee, who is a security expert and now has a new company, they do a lot of mining. He says it costs him about $1,000 to create one Bitcoin. Well, at today's price, he makes $10,000, but when he creates a Bitcoin, it costs him $1,000. They make enough, though, they can make some profits.
Especially if he started out at $1,000 at the beginning of the year. So he was breaking even, and now he's making 10 times his profit.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So they're willing to put that risk in there and to make it happen. But think back in the time when Bitcoin was worth only a penny or less. Famously, one of the first transactions was someone gave 10,000 Bitcoins to get 2 pizzas. Those 10,000 Bitcoins, well, just multiply it by $11,000, and you get the idea of how much money that would be today.
And how do we stop them? Is there a limit? Is there, because it sounds like you could just go unlimited amount of Bitcoins. If someone was, and instead of hacking someone's account to try to steal their Bitcoins, I think a lot of people would be hacking to try to create Bitcoins instead. Yes,
you raise a good point, and you had asked that earlier. Forgive me for not getting to that. Inflation is a critical issue. We see a lot of that, like for right now in the United States. What is the U.S. dollar backed by? Not by gold, Nixon took us off that back in 1971 in August. And instead, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States. Okay, these are the people that are now 20 trillion in debt and gave us the '08 financial crisis. Inflation will not happen with Bitcoin. And the reason, there's a cap put on it. The maximum they can ever make is 21 million. They currently have made approximately 17 million.
Okay.
When they hit that final limit, that's it.
Because I was wondering what's going to stop the creator of this to just do a little backdoor unseen. Because let's be honest, not everybody in business is forthright and wonderful like you and I are. There's a lot of,
right.
And so
there's one or two of them out there. I saw them somewhere.
Yeah. So I was just wondering what they have in place to stop people from just creating Bitcoin. So they do have a definite limit.
Yeah, there's a hard ceiling stop, cannot make more than 21 million. That is it. And then the way money will be made will be the value that we put to it, that, gee, I really value this and I'll pay even more in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, again, is run by mathematics, not by people that can just, unlike the US dollar, they just decide to print $4 or $5 trillion extra. And where is it? How's that going to be paid for? Well, it might not. Oh, darn. Well, the societies have a way of crumbling when that kind of thing happens.
So once they hit that limit, it's going to become a scarcity market where people, basically hoarding it will be, instead of now where hoarding is not encouraged because they want to spread it around and get people to use it and make it more legitimate. Once they hit that cap, then hoarding will become more in fashion.
It could be, or it becomes a way that you can buy goods and services and you're able to do it much easier. Bitcoin now has some fees attached to it that are a lot higher because of the popularity of it. There are many other what we call altcoins, alternative coins or cryptocurrencies. For instance, one of my clients just a few months ago, I was talking to, he was over in Greece. And we talked about, he wanted me to come over and work with him. And he said, I'll pay you in this currency. It was called BitShares, is actually a coin, BitShares. And he set me up on the account. I got it, got everything. I'm on my computer. We were doing a Zoom call like you and I are right now. And so he said, okay, Terry, how much is it going to be for you to come over? And I said, well, I'll need this and this, and I'll just do it for this amount of money total for flight and everything. He says, okay, hold on. He typed a couple of keys into his computer. 3 seconds later, the full amount was transferred over to my account like that. And the cost, 25 cents to transfer all of that over. I mean, he was in Greece. I was there. By the way, we did it on a Saturday morning. Banks here in Orlando, I don't know about where you are out there in California, banks in Orlando are usually not open at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
I'm not open at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, exactly. But think about that. What he did, he transferred, and think about, I won't use the exact numbers, but for my fee, for the airline fare, for everything, it was a substantial number. And he just said, fine, done, Terry, here you go. Boom, boom, boom. And it transferred immediately. Now, I knew him, he knows me, so there was a trust. But once he had transferred that, there was no recall. And it's like if I said, well, I'm not going, well, then the recourse would be something else, kind of like people had to do it years ago. You would say, wait a minute, you can't do that. Your word is at stake here. And so you make sure you build all that into contracts so that he could have said with a smart contract like Ethereum is very good for building those contracts. This money will transfer to your account, but only when you arrive on this date and I agree that you have arrived, then the money would transfer to your account. We could have done that.
So is there denominations? Is there big old...
Infinite.
Yeah,
almost infinite. It's like if I wanted to buy one Bitcoin, right now the price is, let's just say $11,000. It's moving around like that literally constantly. But let's say 11,000. What you could do is I could say, no, I don't want to buy just one Bitcoin. I could buy a half of Bitcoin, a quarter, and it goes out 8 decimal places. Okay. So it's like I could go all the way down to 1 penny US dollars. I'm going to send you in Bitcoin, whatever that would be. It'd be a period or a 0.0000, a whole bunch of zeros and some numbers at the end.
Because I'm finding I was thinking it's going to be hard for me to use Bitcoin if I have to use it in 11,000 increments.
Yeah, you don't have to. Fortunately, what you would do is on your smartphone, you would just say, I want to send Terry $100 for that fancy schmancy pin he's got, and I'm going to send him $100 for that. And then the computer goes in and says, what's the price of Bitcoin right now? It's this much, and it'll be this many, 0.000, whatever it would be, number. And then you say, yes, I agree to that. And you would swipe, and it would be transferred to me.
So in the last few minutes I have with you, Terry, and I certainly appreciate your time, I've learned quite a bit. What do you see as the future? Is it going to stabilize at a certain point where it won't be fluctuating as much as it like $1,000 a day? Is it going to be more widespread? Am I going to go to a Bitcoin machine and use my Bitcoin card to pay with the at a Bitcoin contract?
Yeah, in essence, you can do that right now. You can get you have these things I think you might have heard of called Visa and MasterCard.
As far as my creditors know, I do not have those. Don't ask me about
do not
them.
have those. That's right. We won't talk about that. But yeah, what you could do is with the BitPay is a company that gives you the ability to get a Visa debit card, and you can load Bitcoin on there, and then it's kind of like you'd fill that debit card up. You would be able to use that anywhere Visa is accepted around the world, or MasterCard or whatever. And there are many others like that. So you could buy it right now online anywhere they accept that. And many places are now accepting Bitcoin. Over in Japan, over 200,000 retail stores now accept it as legal currency. And so you can use that or your Japanese yen or whatever, but you are able to do that now because of the proliferation and where Bitcoin is going.
So where do you see it going? Where's the final destination?
Yeah, I say it's hard to say. My crystal ball is really foggy, so I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen. But I do know that it's being looked at right now by really smart people in governments and in private industry. Banks are looking at it, even though they might poo-poo Bitcoin. They realize blockchain technology is something that's here to stay. And so there might be other coins that they find a little more reliable. Bitcoin, though, is the granddaddy of it all. It's the one that got started, and it's secure. It is not something that you would use as anonymous, pseudo-anonymous at best. And so it is something I see is only going to grow. My personal feeling is that it's going to continue to grow. And we can check back a little bit later. You say, Terry, remember when it was 11,000? Now it's at this. I sure wish I would have bought then. Or it might be you say, Terry, you told us it was 11, and now look at it's way down here. It's hard to say where it's going to go, but I do think we're going to see increased usage because when you look at what's happening at other banks and other currencies around the world, major central banks are in trouble. They have borrowed and printed, and it's just not a good way this can turn out historically. And so I'm concerned alternative currencies like Bitcoin and others that are going to give stability and a little more peace of mind to people, particularly in places like Venezuela, like Zimbabwe, like Argentina, and other places where they've had problems with that.
Well, I appreciate your time, Terry. You are worth all the Bitcoins that we can get you. And I appreciate your time.
That would be good in today's price. That's good.
I know. So thank you very much. And where can people find you and maybe bring you to one of their events?
I would love to talk with people about this, and I do a lot of work on that. So just get in touch with me. Those of you that are watching this, just give me a holler. You can reach me very easy. It's terry@terrybrock.com, and Terry is spelled Terry, and Brock is spelled the right way, BROCK. So terry@terrybrock.com, and I'd be happy to help you and answer questions. If you got something I can answer real quickly, just drop me a note. I'd be happy to help you.
Thanks, Terry, and tell Gina I said hello.
You bet. Craig, great to see you always, my friend.
That's the show. Thanks to Terry for coming on. Not sure I get it 100%, but I feel I learned a lot today. You can email the show with comments, questions, and guest suggestions to Craig@SpeakerCraigPrice.com. Go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. It really helps out. You can follow the show on Twitter @RealityCheckPod, and we'll see you next week.